All right, welcome everyone to the Committee on Taxation. We're meeting today to have work sessions on several bills. We'll begin with our introductions, and we'll start with Senator Libby. Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Nate Libby, and I proudly represent all of the people of Lewiston in the Maine Senate.
Excellent. And Senator Pouliot.
Good morning, State Senator Matt Pouliot. I represent Senate District 15, the towns of Augusta, China, Oakland, Sydney, and Vassboro.
And Representative Bickford.
Good morning, Bruce Bickford. I represent House District 63, which is part of Auburn.
And Representative Carmichael.
Good morning. I'm Mickey Carmichael. I represent House District 137, which is Hancock, Washington, and Penobscot counties.
It looks like Representative Collins isn't with us at this time, and Representative Gramlich is not going to be with us, I think, this morning. Representative Hanley, I don't see him. Representative Kryzak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Ted Kryzak. I represent District 20, Acton, Lebanon, and part of Shapley.
And Representative Matlack is, I believe, chairing another committee at this time. Representative Perry. He's waving. Well, we can come back to him and Representative Sachs.
Good morning. My name is Melanie Sachs. I proudly represent House District 48, which is Freeport and part of Pennell.
Excellent. And Representative Terry.
Good morning. I'm Representative Mo Terry. I represent District 26, the west side of Gorham, and I serve as House Chair.
All right. Representative Perry, you have sound.
Good morning. As soon as I tried to unmute a commercial I was watching on YouTube started to play out loud. So I get that taken care of. I'm Joe Perry. I represent part of Bangor and Orono in the Maine House.
Excellent. And I'm Senator Ben Chipman. I represent Senate District 27, which is part of the city of Portland, serve as Senate Chair of the committee. Also with us is our clerk, Avery Page, as well as our analyst, Julie Jones. So we're now going to take up several bills in work session today. Wanted to announce right off the bat that we'll not be taking up LD 1129 or LD 1337. We had some requests from sponsors on those bills to not take those up today. But we will be taking up the remaining 5 bills, and we'll be taking them slightly out of order. We'll be taking LD 953 up first, followed by LD 659. LD 1132, 1174, and concluding with LD 1247. So with that, I'll open up the work session on LD 953. This is a bill sponsored by Senator DeChambeau. And we'll let Julie kind of walk us through this bill. Everyone should have the chart that she sent out, but if you want to lead us off, Julie, that'd be great.
Unmute. There we go. Yes, I have brought up the chart to share. We're on LD 953, which is Representative DeChambeau's bill. And this is an act to improve affordable housing options and services to improve affordable housing options and services to address homelessness. This bill would permit tax increment financing funds that a municipality has available through a TIF agreement to cover the costs associated with the development of affordable housing, both inside and outside the development district. And it would also permit the funds to be used in supporting housing services for persons who are homeless. The sponsor has submitted an amendment, a proposed amendment to you, which has been emailed to you, and I have it. I can bring it up on the screen if you want me to, but it does make some changes in terms of clarifying how the process would work and providing a little bit more clear language to the statute that's being proposed in the bill. Is she here?
Yeah, is the sponsor with us, Avery? Senator DeChambeau?
Yeah, she's on.
Yeah, if you could bring her into the meeting and also folks from DECD, I think want to speak about the amendment as well. That'd be great.
Yep, they're all in.
Okay, great. So you want to go over the amendment, Julie, or would you like the sponsor to speak to that?
Well, I think it would probably be best if she or DECD. I know that she has been working with DECD and the Housing Authority on the amendment. So I think that they all together with regard to it, they would understand it better than I would. So I think I might stumble a bit. I think it would probably be better for them if they are able.
Yeah, so
And someone let me know. Like I said, I have the amendment. I can share it on the screen if that would be helpful to people. I'm not sure which would be better, if I share or not share.
Well, if you want to maybe put the amendment up on screen and we can hear from the sponsor and then hear from folks from DECD to kind of go over it. So welcome, Senator DeChambeau.
Well, thank you, Senator Chipman, and nice seeing all of you again. I'll begin by where we left off. I guess that's the best way. I knew that the work session was going to be a week later, and I assured you that we would be ready. I reached out to DECD, really to, as you all know, Kate Foy. I was unaware that she was gone on vacation. So I am so pleased to see that Commissioner Johnson has joined us. I had sent her an email and called the office today to assure that she would be here. You'll notice that amendment came to me about 48 hours before the public hearing, and bears repeating that I had met with the city manager of Biddeford and the economic developer and the one from Westbrook, Dan Stevenson. We cross-referenced the original bill with the amendment. It fit. It met their needs, their requests, and what we've been talking about. The only piece that is missing, again, I am pleased that Commissioner Johnson's here and also Tina Mullins. I just did not get their assurances, and so I'll be hearing this for the first time also. So I sent them this amendment. And so we'll hear from them. If I may, I'll just back off and let the experts explain, and especially for Julie purposes, the process of how this will work. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Senator DeChambeau. So yeah, why don't we hear from DECD? I understand that Daniel Stevenson and James Bennett are also here from to answer questions folks may have. They were involved in working on the bill and the amendment, but well, first, why don't we hear from DECD to kind of go over the amendment with us, and we can go from there.
Mullins, I think you're on with us. If you wouldn't mind unmuting and sharing your video.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yep. So we have someone here from DECD.
Tina Mullins is here from DECD.
Okay, yeah, great. Go ahead, Ms. Mullins. Is Tina Mullins with us?
Getting on.
Oh.
Technical difficulties, I think.
Sorry.
No worries. It's
We
okay.
can hear you now.
Yeah, can you hear me now, perhaps?
We don't see you on video, but we can hear you.
Okay, I'll start that maybe.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, super. Good morning. Well, maybe are there any specific questions? These changes I just reviewed this morning too. And Don Gill with the Housing Authority, I think he helped with the wording, and it looks acceptable. Is there any questions perhaps I can answer?
Well, maybe you could just go over what the amendment does that's different from the bill, or just kind of summarize it for us, and then we can see if folks have any questions.
Oh dear. Okay, so the only thing in reading the language that's added, MTIFs do allow right now, without this change, it allows apartments to be, TIF revenues to be used to support apartment development. And I believe what this affordable housing is wanting to sort of specifically allow TIF revenues specifically for, affordable housing. That's what I understand. Yeah.
Okay. So, and DECD is on board with the amendment that's been presented,
The wording this morning, it looks fine. Yes.
and everybody's flushed it out, and everything looks good.
Well, yeah, we just reviewed it. Yeah, within the last 24 hours, and it looks fine. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Are there any questions from members of the committee for either the sponsor or for Ms. Mullins? I can't see everybody on the screen. Looks like Senator Libby has a question. Go ahead, Senator Libby.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Ms. Mullins. We were having some discussion earlier this morning trying to understand how affordable housing projects can be paid for with TIF funds presently, and how this amendment might change things. We understand there's the ability to fund these affordable housing projects under current statute, but there may be some restrictions. Are you able to speak to that?
I can try. Ultimately, TIF revenues can be used for commercial development, and this sort of open it up. I think what I understand, I don't want to misspeak, but what I understand is for example, homelessness. This affordable housing, the language allows for TIF revenues to be spent for that, which it would not be allowed normally, because TIF is focused on the authorization is for commercial industrial use, also trans-oriented development. So adding the affordable housing language opens up and gives more authority for TIF revenues to be used maybe for residential use, which right now TIF revenues don't, but the affordable housing language sort of just permits TIF revenues to be used a little bit more broadly.
So under current law, TIF revenues cannot be used under any circumstance for housing. Do I have that correct?
If a developer comes in and an apartment complex is developed and it's owned by one owner, and the apartments are not individually sold, if they're rented, that's considered a commercial venture, and that's allowed.
Okay. All right. That's helpful. Thank you.
We have a question from Representative Bickford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to make a motion not to pass as amended with the sponsor's amendment.
Second.
We have a motion not to pass as amended made by Representative Bickford, seconded by Representative Terry. Additional discussion, Representative Sachs.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this can go either to the Honorable Senator or to Ms. Mullins. When I'm reading the now revised language, it's the first time I've read it this morning. I didn't realize it was, I looked yesterday and I didn't see it in the file. The amended language seems to be that this is allowable as defined in the municipality or plantations development program. So that is a change. So can you speak to why that is it seems like the primary change in the sponsored amendment?
Well, I think that's, I would say that that's just more technicality, because when any municipality creates a TIF district, they must have a development program. And any projects that they would like to pick out from the possible allowable project costs must be outlined in a development program. So that's possibly just just to clarify, that has to be outlined in the application or development program.
So for those with existing TIF districts, Ms. Mullins, would they just have to amend their current program to align with this?
That's correct, yes.
All right, so, and even though I want to just clarify that this extends to services outside the TIF, designated TIF district,
That's correct, within the municipality. That's correct.
within the municipality. Okay, thank you.
Seeing no more committee member questions, we have a hand up from Deborah Johnson.
I just wanted to clarify that it was Deborah Johnson, the Director of the Office of Community Development, not Heather Johnson. The Commissioner was on the call. Just wanted to clarify that. And Tina answered all the questions correctly as normal.
Okay. So seeing no further committee questions, I did want to just offer an opportunity to Daniel Stevenson or James Bennett, who joined us, if they had anything additional to add to the discussion that we should know about. Daniel Stevenson, anything for us?
I'll say quickly, first of all, I appreciate this bill. I think it makes a lot of sense in TIF law, especially because we are really trying to tackle affordable housing. It just opens the toolbox up a little bit more. It's a little more flexible. The amendment makes sense, and it's great for us locally to help determine what our needs are community-wide and to address them accordingly. So I really appreciate this bill, and I appreciate all the work that's went in. I wholeheartedly support it. Thank you.
And then James Bennett, do you have anything to add as well?
Yes, thank you. Dittos to the appreciation and the support. Coming back to Senator Libby's question, currently affordable housing TIFs require, it's sort of a separate program, and it requires that 30% of the property that exists on the land that the district has created has to be affordable housing. What this does is allow us to take a look at, as we have development pressures in our downtown area for a at market rate development, that we would be able to TIF that and then take some of the money from that proceeds to be able to support an affordable housing project within the same, basically within the community, but in our downtown. And the example that it's a very real example. This was a brainchild that we came up with here in Biddeford as we are trying to wrestle with two issues. We have some demand for a private sector investment along the riverfront that really, quite frankly, is not a great location for affordable housing, but we also have our housing authority, which is trying to tackle 2 and 3 bedroom affordable housing project in the community. The 2 to 3 bedroom apartment affordable housing are not the ones that the private sector often do, because they only get X amount of dollars for their rents. And when you think about the construction cost and the additional square footage that they have to put in for the 2 bedroom and the 3 bedroom, the numbers don't make sense in a very highly competitive area. And so what we're looking to be able to do is take some of the proceeds from this private investment, which right now it would be at market rate, and use that money to support our housing authority, who's trying to build this new 2 and 3 bedroom unit affordable housing complex in the community. It would be very similar, for instance, in Lewiston, if there was a private developer that wanted to develop something where the old Cowan Mill was, which would be at market, it probably would not be a good place to be able to do affordable housing. But what the city could do is take that at market investment and then put TIF on top of that and then use that money to support affordable housing in another part of the community where it makes more sense based on services and the economics. That's the difference between this bill and the ability to be able to use the proceeds again to be able to support homeless as we try to be partners with the state in the region in terms of supporting homeless efforts.
Thank you, Jim.
Any additional committee discussion or questions? None. We've got a motion on the table of ought to pass as amended. It's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify.
Okay, just making sure I have everyone. I have Senator Chipman, Senator Libby, Senator Pouliot, Representative Terry, Representative Sachs, Representative Kryzak, Representative Bickford, and Representative Carmichael, and Representative Perry.
That appears to be unanimous of all members present. Get a vote from Representative Collins.
No.
He's with us, but I'm not sure if, I think he has some internet issues right now, but he can vote afterwards. But just wanted to let you know about that. But that's unanimous of all members present. Thank you everyone for being with us. So we'll now close the work session on LD 953 and we will open up the work session on LD 659. This is a bill sponsored by Representative Toole regarding payment in lieu of taxes for certain exempt organizations. So take it away, Julie.
Yep, getting the chart back up here.
All right.
Yes, LD 659 is Representative Toole's bill, as you mentioned, to permit municipalities to require payments in lieu of taxes from certain exempt property tax organizations. The bill would permit municipalities to adopt an ordinance to impose an impact fee on property that is exempt from property tax under Title 36, Chapter 652. The discussion at the public hearing was mostly in terms of nonprofits, but Section 652, I mentioned in the chart, refers to a variety of categories of property. There's benevolent and charitable institutions, which is the category where we ordinarily think of nonprofits being included, but they don't necessarily have to be what we think of as the traditional income tax 501c3 nonprofit organization. They could be anything which is determined to be benevolent and charitable institution as long as they meet other requirements of the statute. The profits can't go to any of the directors of the organization. They must go back into the purposes of the organization, that kind of thing. Other institutions that are included are literary and scientific institutions, which we usually think of as schools, but it could also be scientific organizations who have that sort of mission. These two terminologies actually go back to the very beginning of the state of Maine. That's why they seem so kind of strange, because they basically predate the existence of corporations under the law. Other organizations that are exempt are certain veterans organizations. If you think of examples, it's VFW, American Legion, if they own property, they are exempt. Chambers of Commerce and boards of trade, you remember discussion of that when you had a bill considering adding property owned by central labor union councils. Chambers of Commerce or board, I just mentioned that. Houses of religious worship and parsonages. Churches are also included under Section 652. That's where their exemption comes from. And hospitals, HMOs, and blood banks. So when referring to 652, as this bill does, it refers not just to nonprofit organizations, it refers to a wide variety of organizations. In order for the municipality to be able to impose an impact fee, it has to have first tried to negotiate a payment of in lieu of taxes with the organization, the owner of the property, essentially. And the fee, if it's established, if they're unable to negotiate a payment in lieu of taxes, then the municipality can impose the fee. The fee would have to be not less than 50% of the amount that the tax would be if the property was taxable. And it could not be imposed upon the owner of property where the annual budget of the organization was less than $50,000. The question that this raises is whether this is an impact fee or whether this is a different way of obtaining property taxes from the organization. As you'll recall, the Maine Constitution provides that all property taxes have to be assessed equally and according to just value. This, at the point of imposition, starts to look like a property tax because it's imposed on the value of the property, and it is would have to be at least 50% of the tax that would be assessed. So it starts to look not so much like an impact fee as like a property tax. So it does potentially raise constitutional issues. There's also potential ambiguity in the language in terms of who would this apply to if the municipality was going to impose an impact fee because it decided to just do this on one organization, or would have to do it to all of the organizations that fit into this category within the municipality. And there would be administrative issues both on the part of the municipality and organizations. Maine Revenue Services has indicated that their preliminary costs would be, administrative costs could be absorbed. They would really not be involved very much in this process, except to the extent that they provide guidance to municipality with regard to what property taxes are allowed. And it's an option, so there would not be municipal option, so it would not be a mandate to municipalities that have mandate costs. But when one thinks of an impact fee, what they've usually been referred to in the past as service fees. So if a municipality wants to impose a service fee on fire services in the municipality, it would have to come up with a fee that's related to the services that are actually provided. If it wants to pay for snow plowing, it would have to essentially charge everyone for snow plowing, then they'd be able to charge the nonprofits as well. So service fees or impact fees, potentially, I guess. The statute doesn't really define what the impact is that the fee must address. So that's the sort of ambiguity that is in the statutes that might require some more work in order to ensure that a court, if this ever got to court, would look at it as a true impact or service fee as opposed to a disguised property tax.
Excellent. Committee discussion on LD 659. Lieutenant Bickford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a little bit nervous that this is a tax in disguise. And I think my biggest question is a $50,000 budget is very, very small peanuts as far as determining who would be exempt. If we were gonna look favorably to an action like this, I would certainly look more at, a $500,000 budget or more. I mean, those are just my comments so far.
Representative Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to stifle debate on this, but I'm going to make a motion not to pass. I get the idea behind it, but boy, I think it comes with a lot of issues.
Second.
To have a motion that's been made and seconded, Representative Perry and seconded by Representative Terry. Representative Carmichael.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm really concerned because I think that nonprofits as a whole contribute to our communities in a non-monetary way. And there's really no way to measure that in this bill. And, I think there is large so-called nonprofits that could certainly contribute to the services they receive, but I don't know if there's a real constitutional fair way to do that. So I'm kind of leaning against this one.
Yeah, it's an interesting bill that comes up every few years. When I think about it in terms of the community I represent, about 25% of all the property in my district is exempt from property taxes for one reason or another. That means the other 75% have to pay that much more to cover the cost of services. And then I look at some of the salaries, some of the CEOs of some of these so-called nonprofits that are earning $600,000-700,000 a year salaries. And you want to kind of wonder whether they could afford to pay property taxes. But at any rate, I do understand the unintended consequences, and it does, we already allow this, and cities and towns are already allowed to have agreements with nonprofits to make payments in lieu of taxes, and many of the organizations in my district do make payments to cover the cost of fire calls and emergency calls and police service and things like that, roads that are used. So I guess I'm leaning against the bill as well, since it's already allowed, but not required. Any additional committee discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion on the table of ought not to pass. All those in favor? That is unanimous of all present. You have everybody down, Avery?
I think so. I have Senator Chipman, Senator Libby, Senator Pouliot, Representative Terry, Representative Perry, Representative Kryzak, Representative Bickford, and Representative Carmichael.
All right.
Okay,
So
I got everyone.
that motion carries. So we'll close the work session on LD 659. And we will go right into work session on LD 1132. This is Representative Morales' bill to encourage the renovation of available housing stock.
Sharing chart. Yes, this is Representative Morales' bill, as you mentioned. What this bill proposes to do is to provide a process to simplify the municipal acquisition of title to abandoned property subject to a tax lien. The sponsor has provided a proposed amendment at the public hearing, which would substitute somewhat of a different process for the property to be declared abandoned. The original bill would have required going to court and having the court declare it to be abandoned. The process in the amendment, which I also have, I can bring up for you if you want, would provide a different process working through the municipality and the municipal code enforcement officer. They would have to look at a lot of the same information to determine whether it was abandoned, but it would be, the decision could be made at the municipal level, and there would be a process for looking for whether there's an appeal. Anyway, and also the language, the proposed amendment from the sponsor would provide a different process for the Maine State Housing Authority to be involved in the property, rather than the language that's in the bill, I think, said that they would be informed that the Housing Authority would develop a program authorizing purchase by the Housing Authority of renovated single-family and multi-family housing that was acquired through the foreclosure of property tax liens. The amendment instead would provide that the Housing Authority would develop a program for municipalities who certify abandoned property after the foreclosure process to the Housing Authority, and that the Housing Authority would use that information in redevelopment, first-time homebuyer programs and such other analysis of data. So it would be up to the housing authority to come up with how they would be using that information rather than requiring them to do it in a particular way.
Is the sponsor with us, Avery? You know?
Yeah, I'll let her in now.
See if she has anything she'd like to add, and maybe she could help answer any questions if anybody has questions. Welcome, Representative Morales.
Good morning, everyone. Oh my gosh, I haven't looked at my hair. Let me smooth it out a little bit. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing?
Great, how are you?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you, Julie, for that explanation. I think that was very clear to what the amendment provides.
Just wanted to ask if you had any additional information to provide, and then we'll see if any committee members have any questions for you.
No, I think the biggest issue, as Julie, Ms. Jones explained, was that we changed from having the abandonment determined by court order, which would have been more of a process and a little bit more difficult, rather have the municipality be able to make that based on that criteria.
Excellent. We have a question from Representative Sachs.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Representative Morales.
Good morning.
And I just wanted to clarify that having some familiarity with the statute that's now in the amendment, I appreciate the changes made in the bill, in the sponsorship, you sponsored amendment. And I just wanted to clarify, because I believe this is true. This is the clarification you made around code enforcement is the standard process that code enforcement officers in municipalities use to deter under the abandoned building statute. That's my understanding. It's what my municipality has used. It's what others have used. And I just want to clarify that it's not anything new you're creating, that it's simply inserting that within this particular bill to allow municipalities to continue to use the abandoned building. Is that correct?
So in terms of how to, using the criteria for abandoned buildings for the tax lien foreclosure process, yes, it's not creating it whole cloth, it's just adding it to this new process, yes.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that for folks, that this isn't creating anything new. It's just reemphasizing a tool that's already used for municipalities. Thanks.
Right.
Question from Representative Bickford, followed by Senator Pouliot.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think my only concern is that now, are you changing the word directs the housing authority, or is that word staying in? I mean, they're not only allowed or authorized under this bill, they're directed to do this procedure. So what happens if they don't do?
So, and under the amendment on section 3 of the bill, it states that municipalities who certify abandoned property after the foreclosure process shall submit the address and parcel data to the Maine State Housing Authority for their use in determining opportunities in redevelopment, first-time home buyer programs, or other such analysis of the data. So there's no word direct in the amendment.
Okay, so they're not actually forced to take on a property that they don't believe is equitable to them. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you,
Perfect.
Representative.
Thank you.
Senator Pouliot.
Thanks. So I'm actually on retainer with the city of Augusta for selling their tax acquired properties. And I can tell you that it's very challenging for the municipality to liquidate these assets because of the need to quiet the title on the deed. So basically the deed is garbage for 5 years unless the buyer can go through the process of quieting the title. And I had a woman who had intended to stay in the property that she bought from the city for a longer period of time. And then life events happened and she needed to sell the property. And the guy who the city got the property from, you know, he was a deadbeat. He never paid his taxes. He just, and I'm big on private property rights, but everybody needs to pay their taxes, you know? And so the guy had to be like tracked down to like sign a quitclaim deed. And he wanted to basically have her pay him like $10,000 to sign it. And I don't know, it was just, there's just some bad characters, I guess, when you start getting into this level of, you know, not paying property taxes for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, you know. Once a city takes these places back, I think that they've had every right to, you know. But it does make it difficult to resell these places with this process that's in place in the state. So anything we can do to speed that up is good. One thing that I will say is that, you know, I'd like to see that there's an ability for these properties just to go up to the general market. I mean, I like the idea of Maine Housing having an opportunity, but the reality is they're really not like a development entity. I mean, they provide resources to developers for sure. I mean, a lot of projects wouldn't happen in Maine without that, you know, financial assistance, but they don't really have like crews of people to go fix up houses and then make them available for sale. So, you know, if we're gonna, you know, if we're gonna go down that road, I'd like to see it that Maine Housing maybe makes them available, you know, to people to do the work rather than being tasked with, you know, like fixing up houses and then making them for sale.
Thank you, Senator Pouliot. If I may just provide a quick clarification on that.
Sure, go ahead.
That is exactly the intent of this bill. Everything that you talked about, making it easier to quiet the title, and nothing in this bill would foreclose the municipality's opportunity to put the properties back on the market at all. The only piece is because Maine Housing has access to the home buyer programs and potential assistance with redevelopment, including LIHTC guidance and things like that, that we just wanted to notify them so that they have it on their radar. So I don't think anything would change in that regard. And I have, in the mid-2000s, I did try a tax lien foreclosure case. And so I'm well aware of some of the challenges for a small municipality dealing with that. So, thank you.
Question from Representative Sachs.
And Senator Pouliot, you know I have a bill for that. So we'll work in tandem, and that's why I'm excited for Representative Morales's bill, because I think it's working all in tandem with some of these bills moving forward. So I would like to make a motion as ought to pass as amended using the sponsor amendment, please.
So we have a motion ought to pass as amended. Is there a second?
Julie, can you put that amendment up on the screen, please?
Yes.
So I think we're seconded by Representative Carmichael.
Terry.
It is also available online on the legislative and on the Taxation Committee's website under LD 659, right? Yeah, no, 1132. I'm sorry. It's one of those mornings for me. So the amendment is also posted online.
Same here. I apologize. Could you recap what the difference between because I was reading the original and I missed the fact that she was talking about the amendment. I apologize. What the changes are?
What the amendment does is, in terms of its relationship to the bill, the changes are in subsection 2, down where my handwriting is here, on determination of abandonment. So instead of having the court procedure that's in the bill, it has a procedure for the code enforcement officer to identify much of the same information that the court would have had to use as criteria, but a process for determining what's abandoned. And then the information with regard to the housing authority is a replacement in section 3 here. So program to monitor municipal tax foreclosure and abandoned property. So it's providing that municipalities have to submit the information to the housing authority, and the housing authority can use that information to help with their programs.
Got it. Yeah, if I had paid closer attention, I would have avoided me getting into the spiel on Maine Housing selling properties. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you quite too well, but if you have a question for me.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, all right.
Any additional questions from members of the committee? Committee discussion? look like we have anybody else that has a question or any further discussions. We have a motion on the table of ought to pass as amended. All those in favor, please signify.
Okay, I have Senator Chipman, Senator Libby, Senator Pouliot, Representative Terry, Representative Sachs, Representative Bickford, Representative Carmichael, and Representative Perry.
That is unanimous of all members present. We'll now close the work session on LD 1132. We'll go into work session on LD 1174, sponsored by Representative Ordway, to allow municipalities to send separate bills for county, municipal, county, and school taxes. So we'll let Julie walk us through this, but I wanted to see if Representative Ordway is with us. Maybe we could bring him in if he would like to offer any additional information or be available to answer questions from members. And Senator Pouliot, do you have something? Oh, okay, great.
I'm not sure if he's on, but I did just move him into the room.
Okay, great.
So this, excuse me, this LD would permit municipalities to issue separate property tax bills for the portion of their tax commitments attributable to education funding and to the other items that or other costs that are being funded through the property tax. So there would be two bills. I just want to mention there is in current law a provision that permits, it says permit, I think it requires municipalities to identify on their bills the percentage of the commitment or the percentage of the amount that they're raising that goes to education, local government, county government, and state government. Also, the outstanding municipal bonded indebtedness of the municipality and the due date and interest of delinquent taxes. So municipalities are already required to contain that information. It shouldn't say permitted to identify. It requires municipal tax bills to identify that information. There were questions raised at the public hearing that the bill states that the municipality may have two separate bills, but it doesn't clarify how that process would relate to the non-payment and tax lien process. If there are two bills, that process assumes there's going to be one bill, so there might need to be some sort of meshing of those two things if a municipality is going to be issuing two separate bills.
Representative Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So here's some issues that I see with this. One is heavy paperwork load on municipalities, doubling essentially, at least what they're already doing as far as sending out tax bills. It also requires them to, for more bank processing, whether it's for depositing checks, which is what I do in my town because my debit card requires, I have to pay a fee if I use my debit card. So it would, if there are folks out there that do use their debit card, they would likely get double fees as well. It seems like a whole lot of work for something that is already written on their bill. So they're fully aware, people are fully aware of what their ratio is for what they're paying in property taxes to go to each of those parts of municipal government. So I think I'm not in favor of this bill. I'll hold off on a motion because I see other hands up.
Julie, if you could take the chart down so we can see everybody, that would be great. And also wanted to ask the sponsor, Representative Ordway, if he is with us, if he had any additional information he wants to provide or speak to at this point? I don't see him on the screen. Oh, there he is, Representative Ordway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any additional information you'd like to provide to us at this time? We're having the work session on your bill at this point.
Yes, good morning. To Representative Terry's statements, it's the municipality. Remember, this is voluntary. They don't have to. They're not being forced to do this. It's optional for them. So if they choose to take that on, that's on the municipality. As far as the tax liens, I would envision it's just the same as anything else. If you don't pay your tax, you get a tax lien. And the only other thing that I've heard about since the public hearing was splitting of the homestead exemption. And the homestead exemption, I would envision it being split to the percentages of the school bill, school budget, and the municipal county budget.
So Representative Ordway, just to be clear, the bill wouldn't require separate bills. It would allow separate bills to be sent if the municipality chooses to spend the time and money to separate everything out and send separate bills. It just allows them to do that. So it's optional.
Correct. Not required. If the municipality wants to do it, they can. If they don't want to, they don't have to.
Okay. We have a question from Senator Pouliot.
I actually don't have a question. I think like initially I thought that this bill made a lot of sense. My concern, Representative Ordway, just is the additional kind of like time and costs associated with it for the municipality. And I do think that there could be some cause for hostility around it. I mean, it's tough because I really am a big fan of transparency in government, you know what I mean? But the breakdown, at least in Augusta, I know, and I haven't looked at other tax bills, is on there of how much is, going to the school and how much is going to the other municipal costs. Now, granted, I know a lot of people don't see that. And, I think we should be doing other things to help notify folks, like, for instance, putting in a big red piece of paper with size 72 bold font that says, make sure you're getting your homestead exemption, because a lot of people don't get it. And in my opinion, they've been robbed of money that's due to them over the last however many years they had a place. So anyway, I get it that folks, even though it's written on those things, they don't always see it and having two separate ones. But I could see a lot of my constituents calling out being confused. Like, I already paid my taxes. Why am I getting another bill? It's tough because in trying to bring in more transparency, which I'm in favor of, I think we're also bringing the chance of confusing the heck out of people, So just for that reason is why I wouldn't support this, but it's not because I don't support the motive behind it. I just feel it could get confusing for folks.
Representative Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In Bangor a few years ago, they started as a federal, I don't know, it came down from the federal government, a water runoff bill, $5.50 minimum. It's like your sewer bill, but it is a separate bill. And every 6 months, the post office brings hundreds and hundreds of certified mail envelopes to people around Bangor with $6 or $7 or $8 a certified mail fee, threatening a lien on a $5.50 bill that people get. They set it aside and forget about it. So it may be an option for the community, but for the person on the receiving end, having 2 or 3 bills just leads to all kinds of complications. And so I totally support where you're coming from, Representative. But sadly, I'll be the one to make the motion ought not to pass.
Second.
We have a motion of ought not to pass made by Representative Perry, seconded by Representative Terry. Any additional committee discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify.
Okay, I have Senator Chipman, Senator Libby, Senator Pouliot, Representative Terry, Representative Perry, Representative Sachs, Representative Bickford, and Representative Carmichael.
So that appears to
I
be
think that's
unanimous of
everyone.
all those present. Is that what you have, Avery?
Yep.
Unanimous of all those present. So we'll now close the work session on LD 1174. And we'll go into work session on the final bill we'll be taking up today, which is LD 1247. This is sponsored by Senator Dill, allowing, well, basically placing a moratorium on property tax revaluations during the state of emergency. So if there's a state of emergency, there'd be a moratorium on any implementation of revaluation during that period of time. So is the Senator Dill with us, Avery? Do you know if he's with us? No? Okay. So we'll let Julie walk us through this bill and we'll open up discussion.
Yes, I think you've explained it fairly well already. It would provide that the municipality or state department, in the case the State Department, is referring to the main revenue services and their responsibilities of assessment in the unorganized territory, that if a state of emergency was declared by the governor, that they would be required to temporarily halt a revaluation in that municipality until the emergency was declared to be over with, in which point they would be able to resume the revaluation. Well, Maine Revenue Services has raised numerous administrative issues and interpretation issues and potential constitutional issues. I would mention that the constitutional issues that might be involved are main constitutional issues requiring that a general valuation be done at least every 10 years. And if a municipality happens to be in the middle of one of those, it could cause problems for meeting that requirement in the Constitution. Article 9, Section 8, which is the standard property tax provision that taxes have to be assessed equally and according to just value. As I'm sure you know, that properties change in value over time. Some properties in the municipality may be increasing dramatically in value over time, while other properties in the municipality, their valuation may be going down. So although their valuation was equal at the time of the last revaluation, over the course of 5, 6, 7, 8 years, it might have gotten way out of whack and not be anywhere near equal anymore. There's also the potential for running up against Article 9, Section 21, which is the provision in the Constitution which requires the municipality to reimburse municipalities for state mandated costs, or to pass the legislation by a 2/3 vote if the state is not going to reimburse. So that would be something that you would want to take into consideration if you were going to move forward with this bill. And you might want to hear from Maine Revenue Services about their concerns as well.
Does this apply to just to statewide states of emergency, like for the whole state, or could there be like a state of emergency in one county or something and only apply to that county in the case of this bill if we were to pass it? I think there could be like a regional state of emergency, like up in Aroostook County with some significant flooding in the spring that would have no impact on people down in York County. So can the governor declare a state of emergency in just one county, or will it have to be wide?
The bill refers to the declaration of an emergency under Title 27B, Section 742, which I had that same question myself and pulled it up on the screen. I was also curious whether anyone other than the governor could declare an emergency. Obviously, there are people at the federal level who can declare emergencies, but in Maine, it would be up to the governor. It does say that the governor can declare an emergency in the state or any section of the state.
So I'm just wondering if we pass this bill, if we were to pass this bill and the governor declared a state of emergency in a certain region or county, would it just halt the tax valuation from taking place within that region or county, or would it be the whole state? Because, you know, you could have a state of emergency in Western Maine and there's nothing going on down in the coast, and halting the valuation for the whole state for a state of emergency in one particular area may not make sense. But if it only would apply to that particular area, you know, that might make more sense. But I'll let you mull that over a little bit if you can, and maybe get back to us. We have some questions or discussion from Representative Bickford, followed by Representative Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think my question, Julie, is wouldn't this hold municipalities up to possible lawsuits by the business community, by unfair taxation, by not doing the revaluation as directed by law? All of a sudden, their values haven't changed, but the residential values may go up substantially, and that would lower the business taxes. So would they have lawsuits pending, or could they, with this type of legislation?
Well, taxpayers can sue the municipality anytime they think they're being treated inappropriately. That would be possible in this situation as well. I really have no idea how much it might encourage that kind of thing. I think certainly in the state of an emergency, things happen that wouldn't happen if it wasn't in a state of an emergency. And sometimes the law is permitted to reflect the fact that there is a state of emergency and that the ordinary rules shouldn't apply in those types of situations. What would apply here is not entirely clear. I think the statute is maybe not drafted very clearly in terms of how this process would work. Well, I don't know, if the emergency lasted for 10 days, it's probably not much of a problem. If the emergency lasts for 18 months, that's a whole different scenario.
Thank you, Jim.
Just wanted to add that in the municipality I represent, in the city of Portland, we haven't done a revaluation for 12 or 13 years. And the city started doing this process and came up with all the numbers and figures and was just ready to implement revaluation and send out new tax bills when the pandemic hit last spring. And they ended up deciding to hold off on it and didn't implement it during the state of emergency, and or still have not implemented it to this day. They're getting ready to send out the new bills, I guess, this spring or summer to finally implement something for the first revaluation in 12 or 13 years. But they held off on it because of the state of emergency, because of the uncertainty and people had lost their jobs and what the economy was doing at the time. And they didn't want to see wide fluctuations in people's property tax bills, which some people have had their value doubled since the last revaluation was done, and would be a substantial fluctuation for them in the middle of what was, you know, a recession basically last summer and fall. So they held off. So I think they already have the ability to hold off. The cities and towns do. This would require that they hold off implementing revaluation if there's an emergency. But we have Representative Terry, followed by Representative Sachs.
Yeah, actually, thank you, Mr. Chair. That was actually my exact point. Is that this feels like something that, given our current circumstance, not, you know, even talking about you know, a snowstorm that requires a state of emergency, that the governor could, so the governor could actually take, you know, this up, could have this be part of the state of emergency. There's, you know, there's broad powers in the state, in a state of emergency, and I would imagine that would, if the case were that the whole entire state was under this particular strain and you know, needed some support with it, she would be able, or the chief executive, whoever they may be, would be able to do that, as did the governor, the mayor of Portland, you know, who they had their own state of emergency in the city of Portland and were able to do it in that case. And I think, you know, seeing that, it feels to me like I am not supportive of this. Again, I see other hands up, so I'll wait to make a motion.
Go ahead, Representative Sachs.
Go ahead and make that motion. I vote ought not to pass. For those same reasons, just because it feels like I'm less certain that that would be allowed under a state of emergency by the executive branch, but there exists the flexibility for municipalities within their 10-year process to, as you said, align for regional or local circumstances. And the unintended consequences of this particular legislation, I think, would lend itself to be ought not to pass. So that is my motion. Ought not to pass.
I'll second.
The motion about not to pass made by Representative Sachs, seconded by Representative Bickford. And any further committee discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify.
Okay, I have a unanimous vote from Senator Chipman, Senator Pouliot, Representative Terry, Representative Perry, Representative Sachs, Representative Bickford, and Representative Carmichael.
That's all members present.
Yes.
Okay, so it's unanimous of all members present. So that motion carries. We'll close the work session on LD 1247, which concludes all of our work sessions for today. But Julie has her hand up. So do you have something for us, Julie?
Avery emailed me saying that she needs to verify the people who made the motion on one of the LD numbers. And I think the LD number she sent me is the wrong number, but Avery can verify that. And maybe while you're all here, you can verify which one of you made the motions.
1129.
1129, they did not take up.
Yeah, there's two bills we didn't
Oh,
take.
I did get the number wrong then.
Yeah. We didn't take up LD 1129, and we also didn't take up LD 1337.
Oh, so it's 1132.
1132.
It was either me or Mickey, I think. Mickey, did you second?
I made the motion
believe I did,
to
yeah.
pass. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I seconded your motion.
Yeah, so the motion was made by Representative Sachs and seconded by Representative Carmichael. I think you had your hand up too, Representative Terry. So one of you seconded it, but
Yeah, I heard a couple different names for that one, so I wasn't sure.
My kids would say, Jinx, you owe me a Coke, Mickey.
Sounds like a deal.
you guys want to go with Representative Carmichael? Okay.
It's worth a Coke.
Representative Carmichael seconded, and the motion was made by Representative Sachs on LD 1132. So,
Got it.
anything else we need clarified, or you have anything else for us, Julie, we should know about?
No. Oh, and just a reminder that tomorrow morning is when the Government Oversight Committee will review the parameters on the historic rehabilitation credit and the research expense credit, if anyone's interested in listening.
I thought that was Friday, Julie.
Sorry?
I thought that was Friday, not tomorrow. I would like it to be Friday today.
I'm telling you, I'm having a bad morning. I was thinking today was Thursday. It is
I
Friday.
know.
I'm sorry.
I'm there with you, my
Thank you for
friend.
correcting me.
I'm there with you. It's on my calendar. That's why I know.
Feels like it's Thursday today, doesn't it?
Amen.
That's Friday morning for folks that want to partake in that. All right. And do you have anything for us, Representative Terry? We're all set.
All set. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
I guess we're all set. We'll adjourn the Committee of Taxation for today, and we'll see everyone